Well, we've tracked him down. Larry Goldberg is hiding out in the hills of Provence. Is that how you say it?
You do?
I did it good. Okay.
Very good.
We've seen pictures on X of Larry's troubled life that he's leading there in these gentle hills in the south of France. It's really tough, Larry.
Well, I wouldn't call them gentle. If you had to walk up and down from the chateau in the top of the village down to the street below every day, you would also not call them gentle. I mean, but yeah, it's really stunning countryside. Lovely people, I have to say, lovely people. Everybody has a bonjour, everybody's cheerful. Life seems very pleasant in these, soft rolling hills. I could think of a worse life.
There you go. I'm sure you could. Well, okay, Larry, as you sitting there in all this, beautiful surroundings, meanwhile, there's turmoil, so much drama in the world of Tesla. I don't even know where to start, but I guess we'll start with the most recent drama. Why don't we start with the compensation package and all of the drama this morning, with Ross and Gary and AJ and everybody else getting into the fray. So have you read the entire 430 pages?
Oh yeah. I've not read it once. I've read it twice.
Wow. Okay.
And remember that of the 443 pages, there's some reprint of the decision itself. So one doesn't have to reread that. Although I did, because I found that I had not got it as clear as I thought I had originally. So I did reread that part again once, but I did read the entire all the detail leading to the appointment of the special committee, and then the process of the special committee, and then the findings of the special committee. I did read that twice because that was extremely interesting. And so here's the too long didn't read piece. There are really two decisions that the special committee appointed by the board made. Now, it was a committee of one because they originally appointed a committee of two, but that reduced to one when one member of the committee felt that because they were making a decision, because they had decided to include a decision on the pay package, they wanted somebody who was absolutely independent and had no relationship with Elon prior to joining the board, and she only joined the board, 18 months ago. Well, I guess, 12 months ago.
Okay.
She has extensive experience as an attorney and as a human resources head. And so she really represented, I think, the distillation of both independence and expertise in the field. So she was appointed and became a special committee of one to decide two issues. The one issue was the move from New Hampshire to
Delaware. Yeah.
From Delaware to Texas. And the other was what to do about Elon's compensation, which was a secondary issue that was added after the board decided to revisit that issue. Now, she then added several experts to her committee as advisors, a firm of attorneys with expertise in the field, in actually both field in the field of the
relocation,
yeah, it's the word escapes me. It'll come to me. The relocation is really the it'll get there.
Incorporation, maybe,
No, it's not an incorporation. It's the domestication, but it's relocation. It means essentially relocating the home of the board of the company from Delaware to Texas. And then she also appointed experts in, employment law and in employment compensation.
Right.
Although she has expertise in almost every one of those fields, except for the relocation, I think there she needed some external legal assistance.
Right.
So they had to decide two questions, and they go into extensive detail on both questions. Now, on the relocation, and I can summarize it, to the TLDR very quickly. On the relocation, on balance, they found there was some legal advantages to being in Delaware because Delaware has this very, very, very extensive case law.
Right.
On the other hand, and Texas doesn't have or hasn't had a special court to manage these commercial issues, which they have now appointed and will have shortly.
And let me just give that 2 seconds of color, Larry. Delaware has established itself, I don't know, maybe a century ago, I forget how long, but a very, very long time ago, as a location where people could set up their corporations, and they basically have a broom closet there, or a small office in Delaware to establish the corporate headquarters, but their corporate domain is there in terms of legally. And then as a result of hundreds, thousands and thousands of corporations using that facility in Delaware, they've established this court and they have all this case law. And so
it may be interesting to note that the reason so many companies located to Delaware is Delaware allowed you to establish a company without having to reveal the owners of the company, without having to make public the owners of the company. That was really, I think, the beginning of why so many registered there. And then Delaware established a special court to deal with these commercial issues. And over time, so many companies, it became a flywheel.
Yes.
The more companies established there, the more, legal precedent was established there, the more legal precedent established there, the more comfortable companies felt establishing themselves there.
And of course, they also had a tax break. So there was a lower tax base in Delaware than many
it
states.
depends on what you mean by lower tax base. But yes, I mean, they have no corporate tax at all on these companies. On these companies' income. There is a registration fee and it's payable depending on the size of the company. I have a Delaware corporation. I pay, I think, some ridiculously small sum, less than $1,000.
Okay, all right.
For that company, and it's and actually, I redomesticate. That's the word I was looking for. I redomesticated that company to North Carolina, as I recall now, because I determined there was no further advantage to having it in Delaware. And in fact, it was costing me more for the registration in Delaware than in North Carolina. So this may be becoming an issue. So the redomestication is happening. Tesla is by no means the first company, and they give several examples. Microsoft redomesticated to Washington state, and Intel redomesticated to Oregon. And so we have significant precedent for redomestication by major companies. I think she gave the number, and I don't remember the number off my head, but a significant number across many, many, many states,
Okay.
including California and including Washington State, and including many cities in the Northeast as well, and in North Carolina, my own state.
Right.
She gave many examples of top companies. I think there were 25 examples of the top 100 companies in the United States.
Wow.
That redomesticated, and I'm just talking from the top of my head, but that was approximately the number.
Right.
But so if you look carefully at the logic, it amounted to this: there are some positives and negatives to the legal structure that exists in Delaware.
Uh-huh.
The positives are that you have this enormous case law.
Right.
The negatives are you have this enormous case law.
Yes.
And it's a trap as much as it is a value add. And I don't have to go into the legality, into the politics of legal action to explain that. And what she left unsaid, and this may be more important than what she said, or what the report said. When I say she, it's a report by the board. The chairman signed it. The chairman actually makes the statement, but signs the statement, but it's a product of the board. And by the way, the board put in an enormous amount of time and effort into this. This was no rubber stamp.
Right.
And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But the point I'm trying to drive at is that this was very, very carefully considered.
Right.
And if you read the report, you'll read all the pluses and all the minuses of the redomestication.
And what was the unsaid part?
That was the unsaid part. The Delaware court has become infected by the virus that is infecting so much of our lives in so many of our academic institutions. And so there is a judgment that is being made before the law starts being applied. Because the law, the law is a malleable creature.
Sure.
And the law can be applied, as we have learned, to one's, political ends.
Absolutely.
And, the giveaway in this particular judgment is in that first sentence.
Yes.
We all know the first sentence. It cites, the world's richest man. When is the world's richest man paid sufficiently?
Right.
There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind, and the law and the proxy statement doesn't go into this.
Yes.
But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the decision was made, and then the law, the decision that was crafted and written was crafted according to the decision that was made before the law was considered.
Yeah.
Because the law is so rich there that they can, craft it according to their will.
Well, Larry, but the law is so rich there, but she didn't even follow the law. I mean, we went into this such great detail.
I'm not sufficiently qualified to say that.
Well, but
I'm not sufficiently qualified to say that, but I will say that it feels like she stretches several very important points.
yes, and again, I can't remember all the details now, but at the time we went into this in such great detail, I do have a little bit of ability to speak to it, having graduated.
You're a lawyer. You're a trained lawyer
from the 9th best law school in the world, actually, UCLA Law. And there was no question in my mind that you are right, that she made a decision that she wanted to do this. But the most egregious part of the decision was to make the statement that it was unfair, but that she could not determine what fair was. And I tried to figure out as hard as I couldn't figure it out. If you were a judge, what is your job? And your job is to figure out what is fair. And if you can make the statement, it's not fair, without making the statement, is what would have been fair, we shouldn't be paying you to do the job.
It's an extraordinary decision. There's no doubt in my mind, Randy. It was an extraordinary decision, and one that, interestingly, found against Tesla on every single point.
Every single one. Yeah.
And on the points that she was reaching, it was so clear she was reaching. I mean, reaching.
Reaching. Yes, reaching. Yes, yes.
So one of the key issues is that, when you have such rich case law, you can always find, that little condition that, that particular decision on that little condition that seems to apply. I mean, you understand how the law works. I've been in sufficient number of these cases to know, that the judge decides and then decides how to explain why he decided. Maybe I'm being unfair now. Maybe I'm being, but
no, I think in this particular case, it's totally fair because she gives herself away in that first sentence. She is unhappy that somebody can be this wealthy, and she wants to take it to him. And
I don't know that is her motivation. She could be motivated by the nature of Elon's personality. She could be motivated because of his politics. She could be motivated because of her politics. Whatever the motivation was, I've never seen such clear indication of judicial creativity.
Well, we've seen a few others, but we won't get into that. All right, so the board takes a look at this horrible decision. The compensation, the committee is set up. The committee now goes out and gets outside resources so that they have somebody completely disinterested coming in and taking a look at whether the compensation package looks right or not. Interestingly, they end up coming up with the identical package. So they make no changes, is my understanding.
Well, now I haven't dealt with the issue of the package.
Okay.
So I've dealt with the redomestication. The point about the redomestication, by the way, ultimately, is that Tesla is strongly identified with the state of Texas.
Right.
She gives, the report gives details of how it's become domesticated in Texas.
Right.
How it identifies with Texas. And the value of being domesticated in Texas is part of this identity, part of these roots, part of the value that the community brings to Tesla and that Tesla brings to the community. And they cite prior redomestications and the reasons given for those prior redomestications of major companies and major tech companies. And much of it boils down to this community issue.
Gotcha.
Much of it boils down to this relationship. Because, one of the reasons for the very strong justifications they make is because they were all upset that Elon announced that the board was going to redomesticate the company.
Mm-hmm.
And he had no right to do that. So he was excluded from the vote. He and Kimball were excluded from the vote when they voted on the redomestication of her report. Right. Her report's recommendations on redomestication. So having excluded Elon and Kimball and having, wrapped Elon over the knuckles for making that statement, which he had no right to make, they fully endorsed it because they saw advantages, significant advantages, and they saw no disadvantages. And in fact, they felt the time had come.
Gotcha. All right.
So that was the redomestication issue. Right. And I've seen some people, comment on the redomestication without having read it, thinking they just did this because Elon said they should do it. No, they didn't do it because Elon said they should do it. They did it because Elon had said it. They wanted to make a decision on it because it was their decision to make, not his decision to make. And so they examined the issues backwards and forwards, and they came up with this decision of their own volition.
Right.
They feel really good about that decision. And that was the committee's recommendation, and the board supported it fully.
Right. Okay.
Without Elon or Kimball being present.
All right. So then on to compensation.
Now, compensation was a much easier call for them, because on the compensation issue, their job was to deeply consider the compensation issue because the judge said that it hadn't been fully deeply considered.
Right.
And so, there is such rich law about what you have to do to make these considerations and so on and so forth. And so they reprised all of that consideration. The only difference being this is this independent director sitting on her own with her experts, deciding, nobody with any relationship with Elon, nobody with a prior relationship with the board. I was very angry in the report that this judge decided that the chairman of the company was not independent. Because if anybody had independence from this company, it was that chairman. Now, it's true she had grown wealthy from her shares, from the shares that she'd earned in the company, but she'd earned shares in exactly the same way as all the other directors under exactly the same terms and so on and so forth. And the success of the company should not be held against her. It should be held in favor of her. I mean, I want a chairman who can drive a company into, multiple, multiplying its wealth umpteen times. I want a chairman like that. I don't want a chairman, who doesn't get paid a lot of money because the company's failed.
Right.
That really drove me. I mean, that was just, I guess it was one of them. And she is such an independent person. She's got such a stellar record in business. Right. She's been, director of several extremely successful companies. She's, contributed very significantly to Telstra in Australia. How can they not consider her independent? She comes from a different continent, for gosh sake. But, this judge saw fit,
right,
to besmirch the name of this person who has a stellar record,
right,
in business. A stellar record in business. Anyway, so they made this independent committee of one, and they said to her, look, you're already an independent committee. Please give serious reconsideration to this pay package and tell us what to do.
Right. And
so they went through a very comprehensive but well-trodden path in these considerations, and they came up with the fact that the right way to do it is to, now that the Delaware court has found all these faults with this package, let's expose these faults to the shareholders that voted for it in the past.
Right.
Say to them, these are the things that you weren't told. These are the things that, that the judge felt that if you had known, you may have made a different decision. And feel free to remake that decision.
Right.
It seems like a very fair approach.
So, Larry, one of the biggest questions that I had when I saw this first result was that, again, when we in the punditry were talking about this right after it happened, was the question of the tax considerations, both for the corporation and for Elon, but especially for Elon, that as options at the time, the valuation would have been, based on the, anyway, without getting into all of that, does the proxy take a look at all at whether these tax considerations make it not a very good deal for Elon?
No, my understanding is that there are no tax considerations.
So that somehow it will be ex post, what was that? What's that word? It'll be as it was at the time?
Yeah, this is simply voting on the reinstitution of that
I see.
package that was decided at that time, and overriding the court's decision. Now, there's going to be a legal case about that. There's going to be a court case about that, and nobody knows, because
Yes.
now we're in completely new territory. Nobody knows what's going to happen, whether the judge is going to find that is wrong. I mean, it's going to be incredibly difficult. If the company, 70% of the company vote in favor of this, 70% of independent voters vote in favor of this, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the judge to overturn this.
Yes.
Very, very difficult.
Yes.
Because if she does overturn it, then I think this becomes a Supreme Court issue. I mean, I don't know how a Supreme Court issue can get in. Supreme Court can get involved in a commercial matter in a state, but it just is it's so unfair. Now, of course, there's still the Supreme Court of Delaware to vote, and they could fix the problem.
Right.
Because she's created an enormous problem. I mean, this notion that we, the shareholders, are going to pay $5 billion to this guy for upsetting our decision, that is so, talk about crazy making. And if we reinstate our decision and she still overturns that, I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, shell the revolt. I mean, anyway, here's what I think. I think that the shareholders will support this motion.
Right.
I think that will settle the issue. She will have to accept that settles the issue. I think there will be a further court case brought. There'll be a lot of argument about the payment to the existing lawyers. That can be settled easily.
Yeah.
Give them $1 billion and make them go away.
Right.
$1 billion pay for 5 years' work, I'll take it. 200 million a year, I could live off that.
Barely. Okay, so Larry, switching gears, we've got Goldman Sachs this morning coming out with a new note. I didn't have a chance to look through all their numbers. I did look at the headline, but the headline was basically, what are you guys talking about? This robotaxi thing is going to change the world, and Tesla is going to be the benefactor. So we've got all the other commentary coming out over the last few days. Goldman Sachs says, "Come on, guys, get wise." What did you think?
This is a difficult one for me because I am of the opinion that we should not be introducing the robotaxi, solely introducing the robotaxi and be done with it. I think we should be introducing both cars at the same time, both the Model 2, whatever you want to call the economy car, and the robotaxi at the same time. And the reason for this is because they're functionally the same vehicle, with different interiors, and the robotaxi is going to have some special muti. Some muti is a South African word meaning medicine.
Okay.
It actually it comes from, I think, Zulu.
Okay.
It comes from Zulu language, and it means medicine.
Okay.
It's kind of entered the so it's going to need it's not going to have a steering wheel. It's not going to have controls. I think it will be able to be steered manually, but from the phone. I think you'll be able to take the phone and and tell it what to do in cases it gets stuck or where it can't get out of it. And it's going to be, the seating is going to be different, but those are not major production issues. Yeah, they're going to need some some code, and they're going to need some software, and they're going to need some different controls. But to produce the chassis, and to produce a common chassis and to produce a common body with different interior is, it doesn't, I don't think it makes that complicated, but what do I know? I don't build cars.
So you'd like to see them come out at the same time or roughly the same time. Larry.
Yeah, I do. And here's the reason. The reason is important. The robotaxi business, getting from here to fully operational and profitable, is not it's not clear how it happens or how quickly it happens and what the business model is, and what all of that has to be evolved. And it's going to take time to build.
Mm-hmm.
As valuable as it is, and as economic as it is to have a robotaxi and not have to pay somebody to do it, there's still an entire infrastructure that has to be built around it. And that infrastructure ain't cheap, and it ain't going to be done quickly, and it's going to be done city by city. And to build a multi-trillion, maybe, build a multi-billion-dollar business out of it is going to take a little bit of time. And whether it's going to take 6 months, a year, or what I think is 2 to 3 years. I mean, look how long it took Uber to make their business work. And that was very quick. So that's going to be a drag at first. And that drag could well be offset by expanding the production of cars, of energy, and of humanoid robots. So I think we should be building out all businesses equally rapidly. And I see the auto business and the the full self-driving, robotaxi business as another leg, and it may become the biggest leg. It certainly will become the biggest leg, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of money to get there. So to provide that money is to introduce the economic car in order to expand the TAM of the auto business.
So Larry, you watch all of this very, very closely. I watched all of this very, very closely. I make my living watching this very, very closely. 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, I'm watching this closely. I haven't seen a single utterance by Elon, by any member of the Tesla team, by any member of the executive. I haven't seen anybody, not one single person from Tesla, say that the next gen vehicle, the commercial version, consumer version, has been delayed a day.
I agree with that, but that's not the general consensus.
I know.
So yeah, I think we're on. We're both on the same page on this 100%. But it worries me that there's so much talk in the community about there not being too. I've said this on other fora before, and people attack me. They say, no, you're wrong. This is going to be just about 8.8 is going to be all about robotaxi. I said there are going to be 2 cars come out onto that stage. The one is going to be a full self-driving robotaxi, and the other is going to be Model 2. And then somebody writes it that they don't have the production line built, and so I believe there's a production line already, in formation, and not necessarily yet in production, but certainly in formation. And that production line will do both cars, both vehicles, robotaxi and the next gen, because it's one platform, and it's just a question of the finish that the one gets versus the other.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there's a possibility that the robotaxi could come off the line first, and maybe it's 3 months before the next gen vehicle before they start production, or it could be the reverse, depending on what's happening in the middle of 2025. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and then, and most of the parts will be common. So,
Yes.
so
And
ordering the parts and stuff and getting the supply chain set up, it's the same for both.
you're right. And do not forget that they could start the robotaxi business right now with the existing 3s and Ys.
Exactly.
So that would offset my argument that's going to take time to get that business going. If they started that business on January 1 or August the 8th,
Right.
if they started that business using 3 and Y on August the 8th, if FSD has moved that fast, which that sounds a little optimistic to me. I'm thinking that they're going to get there closer to the middle of next year rather than the end of this year. But they could certainly start the robotaxi business with existing fleet. So there, there's so many open paths, and Elon has a way of discovering, that unique path. And so I don't want to gainsay him, but I do think we should have both models roll up on the same day in terms of, the reveal.
Right. And certainly it would be nice if Elon this coming Wednesday would put people's minds at ease. He could easily say, we have not delayed the Gen 3 by a day. That'd be a simple.
Well, now we come the full circle.
Right.
And the full circle is what's going to happen on Wednesday? Who's going to turn up at that meeting? Who's going to lead that meeting?
Yeah.
And what's going to be said?
Right.
And that's going to determine the share price on Thursday.
Right. Absolutely.
Or on Wednesday night.
So are you going in hot and heavy with the short?
That would be a very dangerous. I hate this shorting business. I don't even like selling puts.
Yeah, right.
I don't like it. I mean, I've done it. I've done it. I've been quite successful, which is difficult. And I'm not a trader. I'm actually, I hate the trading business. I hate it. I really just hate it.
Yeah.
I think it's immoral. I hate it. I can see that there's an argument for it adding to the efficiency of the market. I understand that.
Right.
I hate it because I've seen it ruin people's lives.
Sure.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Actually, in my own family.
Wow.
My extended family, not my direct family, but I've seen it happen. And it's terrible.
Right.
Terrible. It is like gambling and is like alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's a killer. So I dislike doing it, but I've done it from time to time because it has been so clear to me the behavior, but anyway, I'm not going to do it this time. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. So,
and by the way, not because of my moral scruples.
Right.
Because it's so unclear.
Yeah.
There is an 80% chance the share is going to drop by 20, 30 points.
Right.
80% chance. But there's a 20% chance it may jump by 20, 30 points.
Right.
Now you can make money on that supposition and those percentages if you have a high level of confidence in your judgment.
Right.
But I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. You could certainly buy that it's going to jump one way or the other. That's another play. So Larry, what do you think in terms of the very mundane question in this dramatic week? The mundane question is Tesla going to make 57 cents or are they going to make 37 cents? AJ came in yesterday at 57.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to hit that 50 cent mark. Very tough to hit that 50 cent mark. Look, AJ is he's no slouch. He does fantastic analysis work.
Yes.
And he he was wrong in the
Ship.
deliveries.
Yeah, so was
delivery.
everybody.
But his analysis this morning pointed out the extreme disparity in Europe
Yeah,
deliveries, and therefore points very strongly to Tesla being correct in saying that it was the Suez redirection
right.
that likely impacted deliveries for the quarter. And when he talks about 38,000, a disparity of something in the range of 30,
Right.
that's a big number and could have made a big difference.
Right.
But I think it's going to be tough for Tesla to make the 50 cents, and it's going to be tough to show a cash accumulation.
Free cash flow. Yeah.
Very tough. And so, one of the things I wanted to say is that this really shows the wisdom of Elon holding back on the share buyback nonsense and just how much nonsense it was and how important cash balance is to an auto company. Because you may argue they're an AI company, you may argue that they're a energy company, but they're a huge component of their business is the auto business, and that auto business requires you to have enormous cash reserves.
Yes.
Some very wise pundits said, go out and raise money back when the share price was $250.
Right. Right.
And I supported that 100%. I said that let's do it. And let's not raise 30 billion. Let's raise 50 billion.
Wow.
Well, I'm on record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to say, I told you so, but I
Told you so. So, Larry, I know that I beat this drum. This is my number one drum that I'm beating right now. But I'm sitting here looking this morning at a Model 3, $2,999 deposit, $299 a month on a lease. But you can't buy the car at the end. Simple decision by Tesla to give it a try. See if it makes a difference. Do it for 3 months. Let people buy it at the end. Just try it. See what happens. Try a 2% loan. They're doing it in Germany at 0%, in China 0%. Try a US, buy down that loan to 2% in the United States. Give it a try for 90 days. See what happens. What's happening with the advertising money that they are spending? What kind of results are they getting? Are they ramping it up? Are they seeing some results? Is that why we're starting to see these inventory numbers dropping and the prices getting firmer? Is it because of the advertising? And if all that's true, sure nice to know that next Wednesday, and that maybe there's a significant hope of improving sales going forward.
Yeah, you're right, but all that you say is wise, and I support that. But I honestly believe that we're at the limit of the TAM of the models that are on the market.
For the Midwest?
No, that's true. But if you look at the total number of cars sold in the Midwest,
yeah, it's the second largest market in the world. I mean, okay,
no, not the Midwest.
California is the second largest market.
Yeah. Look, the problem in the Midwest is, the buyer is a buyer of trucks.
Oh, Larry, don't go down that road. I've done the work.
Okay.
It's just they buy trucks, but they buy tons of sedans and SUVs, tons of them. And the truck market there, you might be talking about 18% as the high, 18, 19%. And I think North Dakota or something is
but stay with me on that.
Yeah.
If you're 18% trucks,
yeah,
and you're, I don't know, 50% cars below $45,000 or $35,000.
Right.
There's not a lot left in the middle.
But your take rate in those states is like 3% and 5%. It could get
Yeah,
up.
but you add another 4 or 5%
Uh-huh.
to that market, and then the total numbers are not that great.
It would still be everything that Tesla could make this year. So that's all I'm saying. If they can find a way to tap into the Midwest and get them to start on that curve, just to get them on that curve, get them going, this year it would eat up every single
Well,
car.
speak to the head of advertising and marketing and advertising at Tesla.
Who is that? They need to hire that guy. I don't know who it would be. I'm too old. I'd love to do it.
Actually, his name starts with E.
Yeah, no kidding. And he, by the way, is a genius. He's a marketing genius, but I don't think he is a traditional sales.
He's a product
He's a
genius.
product
And
genius.
he lets the product sell itself.
Yeah.
He's not a marketing genius.
Well, no, marketing also includes PR, and I don't know anybody that does PR like Elon.
Well, he does PR and he also kills his PR. So.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, Larry, let's see. Let's see. There must be something else that we've forgotten to talk about here because there's so much drama this week. It's hard to keep it all in my head at one time.
Well, what's interesting is to talk about the drama. I mean, the drama itself is quite an interesting subject. The question is the drama a negative for Tesla or is it a positive for Tesla? That's the interesting question.
Yeah.
Is all this stuff swirling around, this morning I woke to an interview with Dan Ives and he who shall remain unnamed.
RG.
We're on a chat, and Dan, I love Dan Ives. I think that he has colorful dress and colorful language, and he's, I mean, he always gets to the heart of it.
Right.
And I think he's incredibly bright, and he really has been very, very prescient in all his analysis. But I was dismayed, I think is the right term, to see him endorse
RG.
This very bad call about Tesla's Proxy.
Right.
Call for a vote on the board and call for a vote on the package. And the opinion was the package fine, but vote against the board. But the comments made it clear to me that neither Dan nor this commenter had read the proxy.
Right.
I mean, guys, just, this is like ABC. I mean,
don't go on national television if you haven't done the homework.
Yes. I mean, my goodness, this thing is like 24 hours old already. Read the company. And this is the tragedy that we face, that people like, fund managers and analysts, industry analysts are not reading the proxy statement.
Well, the shame of the CNBC. By the way, I watch a lot of CNBC every day. I count on them for a lot of my financial information. But the shame of this channel is the people that they bring on in many cases are horrible at their job. They might be colorful, they might be interesting, they might be well spoken, but they commonly bring on people that quite frankly, Larry, I'm not trying to be a braggart, but you or I generally, I think, know more about Tesla and more about their position in the marketplace than almost anybody they bring on these different channels.
Well, you should watch Yahoo then.
I should what?
You should watch Yahoo instead.
Yahoo instead. They bring on people that are better than Fox,
I
no,
mean,
I'm a big fan of Fox. Their financial channel stinks.
yeah, it's a pity.
It's a
But
pity.
Yahoo Finance are not bad. They had this guy Goldberg on.
That's true. There you go. They got that part right for sure. Well, Larry, we're going to have you back on Saturday morning. I'm going to be down the street from your house, but you're
What a
not going to
miss.
be there. I'm going to be in
What a
Charlotte.
miss.
You're going to be in
What a miss.
France. I mean, we messed that deal up. We didn't
Yeah, we
get that
did.
one out right. Okay, so I will be getting on the phone with you on Saturday morning, and we'll figure out. I have so much more to talk about with you, but we wanted to talk about the drama today, and then on Saturday we'll start digging into some of the stuff we normally talk about in terms of the economy and in terms of Tesla, how it all fits together. And so look forward to seeing you then. As always,
Thanks, Randy.
I
Had a lot of fun.
appreciate you coming on. All right, and to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.